Most people think financial freedom is just about learning stocks, SIPs, or mutual funds. But the real divide isn't knowledge, it's mindset. You can have all the financial data in the world, access to every trading platform, and read every book on the market. But if your internal operating system is wired for scarcity, fear, or limitation, you'll always find yourself hitting an invisible ceiling. The barrier isn't in the external world. It's in the internal landscape of your thoughts, beliefs, and emotional patterns. True wealth starts in the mind, not just the wallet. This is where the real work begins. It's about shifting your perspective from one of just accumulating money to one of creating value, from seeing problems to spotting opportunities, and from being a passive recipient of circumstances to becoming an active architect of your destiny. It's about understanding that your financial reality is a direct reflection of your psychological reality. When you upgrade your thinking, you upgrade your entire life, and your finances naturally follow. So today, I want to invite you on a journey. We're not just going to talk about numbers and charts. We're going to dive deep into the very core of what it means to be wealthy. Let's explore 10 transformative mindset shifts, blending finance expertise with deep psychological wisdom. Together, we'll learn how to rewire our brains for abundance, purpose, and lasting financial freedom. Are you ready to begin? The first, and perhaps most fundamental shift, is moving from a mindset of scarcity to one of value creation. So many of us wake up every morning with a subtle, anxious question humming in the background of our minds. How much can I make today? How can I get my piece of the pie? This question, though it seems practical, is rooted in a deep-seated belief that resources are limited, that life is a zero-sum game, and that for you to win, someone else must lose. It puts you in a state of constant competition and anxiety. This scarcity mindset keeps you focused on transactions, not transformation. You're looking for the next paycheck, the next client, the next small win. You're essentially a hunter, always searching for the next meal. But what if we could change the question? What if instead of asking how much can I make, we started our day with a more expansive, more powerful question? How much value can I create today? This single change in language shifts everything. It moves you from a consumer to a creator. When you focus on creating value, your brain begins to operate from a place of innovation, service, and purpose. You're no longer just trying to extract something from the world, you're looking for ways to contribute to it. You start seeing problems not as obstacles, but as opportunities to innovate. You think about how your unique skills, your passions, and your knowledge can solve a genuine need for someone else. You're not just chasing money, you're attracting it by becoming a source of solutions. This isn't just a philosophical idea. It has a profound impact on your neurochemistry. The scarcity question triggers cortisol, the stress hormone. The value creation question, on the other hand, activates the parts of your brain associated with creativity, problem solving, and empathy. You're not just working for a wage. You're aligning your actions with a deeper sense of meaning. You start building systems, creating products, and offering services that have a lasting impact. And here's the beautiful paradox. When you stop chasing money and start creating value, money begins to chase you. Wealth becomes a natural byproduct of the positive impact you're making. You build a reputation for excellence, for generosity, for being someone who genuinely helps others. Your piece of the pie is no longer the focus because you realize you have the power to bake entirely new pies. You shift from being a player in the game to becoming a game changer. We all face setbacks. The market crashes, a business deal falls through, an unexpected expense arises. In these moments, it's so easy to fall into a victim mentality. The narrative that plays in our head sounds something like this. Why is this always happening to me? The world is against me. I can never catch a break. This mindset, while understandable as a temporary emotional response, is one of the most disempowering states we can inhabit. It renders us helpless, waiting for an external force to either rescue us or strike us down again. When you're in a state of victimhood, your brain's threat detection system, the amygdala, is on high alert. You are physiologically primed to see more problems, more threats, and more reasons to feel powerless. You are looking at the world through a lens of lack and injustice, and so that is precisely what the world reflects back to you. You become a passive observer of your own life, tossed about by the waves of circumstance. But true power lies in realizing that you are not the wave, you are the ocean. The transformative shift here is from asking, why is this happening to me? To asking a profoundly different question, what opportunities am I not seeing right now? This question is a pattern interrupt. It forces your brain to switch from its primitive, fear-based reactive mode to its advanced solution-oriented executive function in the prefrontal cortex. You are literally telling your mind to stop scanning for threats and start scanning for possibilities. You become an active participant, a seeker, a problem solver. Suddenly, a lost client isn't just a loss of revenue. It's an opportunity to refine your service offering and find even better aligned clients. A market downturn isn't just a crisis, it's a chance to invest at a discount or to pivot your business model toward a more resilient industry. You begin to understand that every problem is simply an opportunity in disguise. It's a workout for your resilience muscle, a test of your creativity, and a chance to grow stronger, smarter, and more adaptable. This isn't about toxic positivity or ignoring real challenges. It's about agency. It's about recognizing that while you cannot always control what happens to you, you have absolute control over how you respond. By consciously shifting your focus to opportunity scanning, you activate your internal radar for abundance. You start noticing the silver linings, the hidden doors, and the unseen pathways that were there all along, just waiting for you to look for them. You move from being a victim of your history to becoming the architect of your destiny. Many of us are conditioned to think about financial growth in a linear, incremental way. The common questions we ask ourselves reflect this programming. How can I get a 5% raise this year? How can I save an extra $100 a month? These are not bad questions. They are rooted in responsibility and prudence, but they operate within a very limited framework. They are about making small, safe, predictable steps up a very long ladder. This is the mindset of addition. But what if we could learn to think in terms of multiplication? What if we shifted our focus from small incremental gains to preparing for quantum leaps? This requires a radical change in the questions we ask. Instead of how can I get a raise, we start asking, what skill, if I developed it to a world-class level, would multiply my earning power by 10 times? This question breaks you out of the box of your current job description and your current reality. It forces you to think about leverage. Leverage is the key to exponential growth. It could be learning a high-value skill, like artificial intelligence development, mastering public speaking to influence thousands, building a scalable online business, or creating a piece of intellectual property that can be sold an infinite number of times. It's about investing your time and energy, not just in doing more work, but in building systems and capabilities that work for you, amplifying your efforts far beyond what you could achieve through manual labor alone. It's the difference between climbing a ladder and building a rocket ship. This approach harnesses the incredible power of neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to rewire itself. When you commit to mastering a 10-time skill, you are literally building new neural pathways. You are upgrading your mental hardware to run more powerful software. It requires intense focus, dedication, and a willingness to be a beginner again. But the payoff is not just a bigger paycheck. It's a fundamental expansion of who you are and what you are capable of achieving. You become more valuable to the marketplace because you can solve bigger, more complex problems. So I invite you to look at your own life. Where are you playing the game of addition? Where are you focused on just getting by or making small, incremental gains? And where could you start playing the game of multiplication? What is the one skill, the one project, the one system that could create a quantum leap in your life? Stop thinking about climbing the next rung on the ladder and start thinking about how you can build an entirely new ladder. Or better yet, an elevator that goes straight to the top. In a world that often feels competitive and individualistic, it's easy to view our relationships through a transactional lens. The silent question that governs our interactions becomes, what can this person do for me? Who will help me get ahead? We network with an agenda, we connect with an expectation of return, and we measure the value of our relationships by their utility. This approach might yield some short-term benefits, but it builds a fragile and hollow foundation. It's a lonely way to live, and honestly, an inefficient way to build lasting success. This mindset stems from a feeling of lack, a belief that you don't have enough and you need to get something from others. It turns relationships into a series of debits and credits, where you're constantly keeping a mental tally of who owes whom. People can feel this energy. They can sense when they are being seen as a means to an end, and it creates a natural barrier to genuine connection, trust, and collaboration. You might make a few connections, but you won't build a true community. The profound shift is to flip this question entirely. Instead of asking, who will help me, we must begin to ask, who can I help, so that we can all rise together? This moves you from a mindset of extraction to one of genuine contribution. You start looking at every interaction as an opportunity not to get, but to give. How can you share your knowledge? How can you connect two people who would benefit from knowing each other? How can you offer your support, your encouragement, or your expertise with no expectation of immediate return? This isn't about being a martyr or letting people take advantage of you. It's a strategic and deeply fulfilling way to operate. When you lead with generosity, you build what I call relationship equity. You become known as a connector, a supporter, a person of value. You are planting seeds of goodwill that will grow into a forest of opportunities. People are naturally drawn to those who are givers, and they will want to help you, not because they owe you, but because they are inspired by your spirit of contribution. This is the principle of compounding applied to human connection. A transactional relationship is a one-off event. A contribution-based relationship creates a virtuous cycle. You help someone, they are more likely to help you or someone else in your network, and that positive energy continues to circulate and grow. You stop thinking about building a network and start thinking about nurturing a community. And in a strong, supportive community, everyone rises together. Your success becomes intertwined with the success of others, creating a powerful, resilient, and deeply meaningful web of support. So many of us are trapped in a cycle of short-term thinking, governed by the urgent pressures of the present moment. Our internal dialogue is dominated by questions of survival. How do I pay the bills this month? How do I get through this week? How do I just survive today? This is the mental equivalent of treading water. You're expending a massive amount of energy just to keep your head above the surface, with no thought or energy left to actually swim towards a destination. This survival mode is a primal state. It's necessary in moments of acute danger, but when it becomes our chronic way of being, it severely limits our potential. It keeps our focus small and our timeline short. We make decisions based on immediate relief rather than long-term benefit. We might take the job that pays more now but has no growth potential, or spend money on a fleeting pleasure instead of investing it in an asset that will grow over time. We are constantly reacting to the present, with no connection to our future. The shift required is from survival thinking to legacy thinking. This begins by asking a much more profound and empowering question. What will my future self thank me for? This simple question instantly transports you out of the immediate chaos and connects you to a wiser, more evolved version of yourself. It introduces the concept of what psychologists call future self-continuity, the degree to which you feel connected to the person you will be in 5, 10, or 20 years. The stronger this connection, the better the decisions you make today. When you start making decisions on behalf of your future self, your entire perspective changes. You begin to see today's actions not as isolated events, but as seeds being planted for a future harvest. You choose the workout not just for today's energy, but for the health of your 70-year-old self. You choose to invest that extra money, not for a fleeting purchase, but for the financial freedom of your 50-year-old self. You choose to learn that difficult skill, not for an immediate reward, but for the opportunities it will create for your future self. Legacy thinking isn't just about the money you'll leave behind. It's about the person you are becoming. It's about building a life of purpose, health, and wisdom that will compound over time. It's about making choices that align with your deepest values, creating a life that you will look back on with pride and gratitude. So, in your next moment of decision, pause and ask, is this for my present stressed-out self, or is this a gift to my future thriving self? Choose the gift. Your future self is counting on you. Every major decision in our life, especially when it comes to our finances and career, stands at a crossroads. At this junction, there are two fundamental forces pulling us in opposite directions: fear and faith. Fear whispers all the things that could go wrong. It says, what if you fail? What if you lose your money? What if people laugh at you? Stay safe. Don't take the risk. The unknown is dangerous. Fear's primary goal is to protect you by keeping you small and confined to what is known and predictable. Making decisions from a place of fear feels responsible on the surface. It's the voice of caution, the voice of prudence. But when fear is consistently in the driver's seat, it leads to a life of regret. You end up choosing the path of least resistance, not the path of greatest potential. You stay in the job you dislike because you fear the uncertainty of finding a new one. You don't invest in your brilliant idea because you fear the possibility of failure. Fear builds walls around your potential, creating a comfortable prison of mediocrity. The alternative is to make decisions driven by faith. And when I say faith, I don't necessarily mean it in a religious context, though for some it may be. I mean faith in yourself, faith in your ability to learn, to adapt, and to handle whatever comes your way. I mean faith in your vision, a deep-seated belief in the value of what you are trying to create. It's the voice that asks, what if this works? What if this is the breakthrough you've been waiting for? What is the best that could happen? Faith-driven decisions acknowledge risk, but they are not paralyzed by it. They focus on the potential for growth, learning, and expansion. This isn't about reckless abandon. It's about calculated courage. It's about doing your research, making a plan, and then taking that leap with the conviction that even if you stumble, you will learn something invaluable from the fall. It's about trusting that you have the resilience to get back up, stronger and wiser than before. So, the next time you face a significant choice, I want you to pause and perform a simple check-in with yourself. Ask this powerful question. Am I making this decision from a place of fear or from a place of faith? Is the primary emotion driving you anxiety about what you might lose, or is it excitement about what you might create? Learn to recognize the voice of fear. It's usually loud, frantic, and focused on problems. And learn to tune into the voice of faith. It's often quieter, calmer, and focused on possibilities. Choose faith. It is the only path to a life without limits. You know, a common and deeply ingrained instinct when it comes to money is the desire to hoard it. We often think that the path to security is to accumulate as much as possible and hold on to it tightly. The guiding question becomes, how much can I keep? How can I protect my pile? This mindset turns money into a static, finite object. We build a fortress around our savings, viewing every expense, every investment, and every act of generosity as a potential threat, a crack in our walls. But here's the thing. This hoarding mentality is based on a misunderstanding of how wealth and energy actually work. Think of a stagnant pond. If no new water flows in and no water flows out, it becomes murky, lifeless, and putrid. It cannot support growth. Money, like water, needs to flow. It needs to circulate to remain healthy, vital, and generative. Wealth is not a pile of gold you sit on. It is a river that flows through your life, and you are the steward of that river. The transformative shift, then, is to replace the question, how much can I keep? With a more dynamic and abundant one, how do I keep the flow going? This changes your entire relationship with money. You stop seeing it as something to be clutched and start seeing it as a tool to be used, invested, and circulated. You understand that the key to having more is not just to save, but to wisely direct the flow of resources. This flow has two primary currents, investment and generosity. Investment is the act of directing money towards assets that will grow and create an even stronger current in the future, investing in your business, in the stock market, in your education. It's sending your money out into the world to work for you and bring back more. Generosity, on the other hand, is the act of directing money towards causes and people you care about, creating a flow of goodwill, impact, and positive change. Both are essential for a healthy financial ecosystem. When you operate from this mindset of circulation, you let go of the anxiety of hoarding. You trust that as you send money out with wisdom and good intention, more will flow back in. This isn't magical thinking, it's a practical principle. Investing grows your assets. Generosity builds your reputation, expands your network, and creates a sense of fulfillment that fuels your drive. You move from being a dam, blocking the flow, to becoming a conduit, amplifying it. You realize that true financial security doesn't come from how much you have, but from the strength and vitality of the flow you can create. We've talked about shifting our questions and our focus, but sometimes there are deeper, more stubborn forces at play. These are our limiting beliefs about money, the unconscious stories we've carried with us, often since childhood. These beliefs act as an invisible script, kind of dictating our financial behavior without our conscious permission. We might find ourselves stuck in a cycle of debt, or unable to break through a certain income level, and wonder why. The answer often lies in these hidden narratives. These beliefs can sound like, money is the root of all evil, rich people are greedy, I'm just not good with money, you have to work incredibly hard to make a decent living, wanting more is selfish. Or maybe you feel a sense of unworthiness, a deep-seated belief that you simply don't deserve wealth. These stories, absorbed from our parents, our culture, or our past experiences, form the bedrock of our financial reality. They are the silent architects of our bank account. The journey to true financial freedom requires us to become archaeologists of our own minds. We must be willing to dig deep and unearth these limiting beliefs. The essential mindset shift is moving from a passive acceptance of our circumstances, perhaps asking, "Is this all there is for me?" to an active investigation. What beliefs about money are holding me back? This is not about blame, it is about awareness. You cannot change a story that you do not know you are telling yourself. So, how do you find them? Pay attention to your emotional reactions around money. When you think about investing, do you feel fear? When you see someone successful, do you feel envy or judgment? When you receive a large sum of money, do you feel an urge to get rid of it quickly? These emotional triggers are signposts pointing directly to your underlying beliefs. Get a journal and write them down. When I think about being wealthy, I believe that in order to be rich, I have to be honest and unflinching. Once you have identified a limiting belief, the real work begins, rewriting it. Challenge it with evidence. Is it really true that all rich people are greedy? Find examples of wealthy philanthropists. Is it true you're not good with money? Remember a time you made a smart financial decision. Then create a new, empowering belief to replace the old one. For example, money is a tool for creating positive change, or I am capable of learning and mastering my finances. By consciously identifying and rewriting these stories, you take back the pen and become the author of your own financial destiny. There are two primary drivers in the world of finance and investment: the fear of loss and the desire for growth. For many people, the fear of loss is, honestly, significantly more powerful. This is a well-documented psychological principle known as loss aversion. The pain of losing $100 feels much more intense than the pleasure of gaining $100. This powerful bias shapes our financial decisions in subtle and often detrimental ways. When your mindset is dominated by a fear of loss, your primary question becomes, how do I avoid losing what I have? This leads to overly conservative behavior. You might keep all your money in a low-yield savings account, where it's being slowly eroded by inflation, because you're terrified of the stock market's volatility. You might turn down a promising but risky business opportunity in favor of staying in a safe but stagnant situation. Your entire financial strategy is defensive, not offensive. A defensive strategy is designed to protect your current position. It's about building a fortress and hoping it withstands attack. While a certain amount of defense is prudent, if it's your only strategy, you guarantee one thing: you will never grow beyond your current circumstances. You are playing not to lose, which is a fundamentally different game than playing to win. And in the long game of wealth creation, a purely defensive strategy is a losing one. The essential shift is to move from "how do I avoid losing?" to a more expansive and powerful question: how do I grow? This doesn't mean ignoring risk, it means reframing it. Instead of seeing risk as a threat to be avoided at all costs, you see it as an integral part of the growth process. You understand that you cannot achieve significant returns without taking calculated risks. Your focus shifts from simply protecting your principal to actively seeking opportunities for that principal to multiply. This growth-focused mindset is proactive and optimistic. It encourages learning, exploration, and intelligent action. You spend your time researching growth industries, learning about new investment vehicles, and developing skills that increase your earning potential. You understand that some investments may not work out, but you view those as learning experiences, not catastrophic failures. You are focused on the long-term upward trajectory, not the short-term bumps along the way. Your energy is invested in building a bigger future, not just defending a smaller present. We've explored 9 powerful mindset shifts, but they all culminate in this final, overarching reflection. It's about understanding that you don't just have money, you have a relationship with money. And like any relationship, it can be healthy or toxic, empowering or draining, supportive or abusive. The quality of this relationship dictates how money shows up in your life, as a stressful burden or as a faithful partner in creating the life you desire. Take a moment to honestly assess this relationship. When you think about money, what is the primary emotion that arises? Is it fear, anxiety, and stress? Do you avoid looking at your bank statements? Do you fight with your loved ones about it? This indicates a fearful, dysfunctional relationship. In this dynamic, money is perceived as a scarce, controlling, and judgmental entity. It's a source of constant worry, a taskmaster you can never please. You feel controlled by money, rather than being in control of it. On the other hand, what would an empowered relationship with money look like? It would be characterized by feelings of confidence, peace, and clarity. You would see money not as an end in itself, but as a valuable tool, an amplifier of your intentions. It's a resource that can help you serve others, create beautiful experiences, provide for your family, and build a better future. In this healthy relationship, you are the one in charge. You treat money with respect, you manage it with wisdom, but you are not intimidated by it. The shift is to move from a fearful relationship to an empowered one. This is the integration of all the mindsets we've discussed. It's about seeing money not as a reflection of your self-worth, but as a reflection of the value you create. It's about using it as a tool for growth and circulation, guided by faith and a vision for your legacy. It's about consciously nurturing this relationship every single day. So I invite you to start treating money like a friend you want to build a better relationship with. Talk about it without fear. Learn about it with curiosity. Manage it with intention. Appreciate it when it flows in, and direct it with purpose when it flows out. When you transform your relationship with money from one of fear to one of empowered partnership, you unlock the final door to true and lasting wealth. A wealth that is not just financial, but also emotional and spiritual. So, as we come to the end of our journey today, the single most important truth I want you to take with you is this. Wealth is built first in the mind. It's not about finding the one magic stock or the perfect algorithm. It's about the questions you ask yourself every single day. It's about the stories you choose to believe and the perspectives you decide to adopt. Ask better questions, rewire your thinking, and your entire trajectory can change. You are the architect of your internal world, and that world creates your external reality. These 10 shifts are not just theories, they are practical tools for that architectural work. Moving from scarcity to value, from victimhood to opportunity, from survival to legacy. Each one is a blueprint for building a more abundant life. You don't have to master all of them overnight. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. The transformation of a lifetime begins with a single shift in thought. So, here is my call to action for you today. Don't just be a passive listener. Be an active participant in your own growth. Start today. Pick one mindset shift from this video that resonated with you the most. Just one. Write it down. Put it on your mirror. Meditate on it. And for the next week, consciously put it into practice. Notice when your old thinking patterns emerge and gently guide yourself back to this new, more empowering perspective. Your future self will thank you for the work you begin today. Thank you for spending this time with me.